Here we are on page 228, top of 228 of Mehera-Meher. And Mikal will begin the reading for us. Thank you.
Baba and Mehera. Thank you. Baba allowed me to go for a walk every day, said Irene, not near his house, but all alone, for over an hour in Model Town near the canal. Another activity the women had in Lahore was swimming. There was an outdoor pool at a Muslim girls' school, and Homi Desai contacted the school's principal and obtained permission to use it when the children were in their classrooms. School let out at 4:30 p.m., so the women went for their swim an hour before this. Baba told Margaret to take Mera and Mani and Kitty, sometimes accompanied them. No, Baba told Margaret to take Mera and Mani, and Kitty sometimes accompanied them. Just these four went, as they did not want a crowd at the school. The school was far, so they went in the horse-drawn carriage. The school had a nice big compound, Mera remembered, with a garden and a lawn. There were lovely tall trees outside it. We had swimming suits with us and changed in a little tent by the pool, meant for changing clothes. I didn't have a bathing suit, but I found one, a one-piece costume which covered her well, in Baba's bag of Western things. He was not using it, so I used it. We had gotten an idea of how to swim at Karwar, but we really learned in Lahore. Margaret was pleased with our progress and told Baba. Here Margaret taught Mera how to swim underwater and to swim across the pool. Margaret gave me confidence. She had a nice way of teaching. She said to me, I told you you could swim. You sunk in Karwar only because of those heavy slacks you were wearing. And we too were satisfied that at last we knew how to swim. Still, Mera was usually happy to get out of the pool and let Mani have a lesson. No one else was present at the pool during their lessons, except for a European woman named Mrs. Richards and her daughter. Baba himself never came to the pool to see them swim. Some days later, they stopped going to the school because Baba now wanted the others to swim as well. Homi found a government swimming pool that could accommodate everyone. It was a beautiful Olympic-sized pool with a marble parapet around it and changing rooms. The water was clear, blue, and lovely. The water came gushing in from two large pipes at the shallow end. Iron bars were embedded in the sides of the pool, making it easy for those who did not know how to swim to hold on. Since the Victoria could not hold all of them, and it was far, they went by bus. All the girls got into the bus, Mera continued. It was crowded and cramped inside, with everyone holding their swimming outfits and towels. But however uncomfortable we were going swimming, so it didn't matter. Mani still did not know how to swim very well. So baby Perine's 17-year-old daughter, Khorshid, volunteered to watch her. Mani still did not know how to swim very well. So baby Perine's 17-year-old daughter, Khorshid, volunteered to watch her. Mani started to swim, but soon she sank under the water. Meanwhile, someone called Khorshid, distracting her attention outside the pool. When she turned back, Mani had disappeared. She yanked Mani up by her swimming cap. You were supposed to hold me up, Mani spluttered indignantly. What happened? I didn't know you couldn't swim in a stroke, Khorshid replied. Gradually, Mani improved and eventually became a strong, fast swimmer. After some hours of swimming, it was time to go. Baba must have come from the Mandali and be waiting, they said to one another. We must go home quickly and serve him his dinner. One day, Baba went with them to this pool, but he stayed outside in the hall with the mandali. Margaret taught the women calisthenics also. Mehera, Mani, Katie, and Margaret did the exercises together after breakfast. When Baba was with the men, Margaret demonstrated some balancing exercises she thought were too difficult for them, cautioning the women to be careful not to fall. But when Mera tried them for the first time, she did them so naturally and so well that Margaret commented, "You have excellent balance, Mera. You balance beautifully." When interviewing Margaret for this book, the author said to her, "My impressions is that Mera felt very comfortable and at ease with you, which she did not feel with everyone. In several ways, Baba put you two together. Mera said about you, Margaret was very quiet and very sweet." Margaret responded, "Mera and I got on very well, as I had no sense of being her rival. I knew that wasn't my place. I wanted to please her and knew it was important to Baba. I was not jealous of Mera. I knew that I could not do that, her role. It was not that I was not that type. I'm not good at mending or other household things. Baba needed a woman, a real woman type. There were people who were jealous of Mera, Jean, Noena, and one or two others mildly. Jean was so jealous she went to bed for a week in Nasik because of her jealousy. She wasn't really that type either. You have to be a very delicate, womanly type for that role, as Mera was. Jean wasn't. She was up and about around the world. She hadn't led a secluded life. I can't think of anyone more suitable than Mera for the role Baba wanted. He wanted Mera and he got her. She did represent, in a way, womanhood. She was the opposite of the avatar, who is always a man. Half the women you meet, they're women, but they have this other side to them, caught in the world or elsewhere. But Mera was absolutely right for that position. I thought she was the darling. She was never nasty about it, her role. Not to me. Mera had a quality of innocence, not ignorance, but innocence, one of the rarest qualities you could find. She was also very guileless, so she had all these qualities that made her right for this job as the chosen one. It was a job, it was a position. She had to see that everything was right for Baba, his food, his clothes. And as soon as Baba would come to the ashram, he would ask, "Where's Mera?" Mera had no life of her own. In one or two of the photos Hedy took on the boat in Benares, you see the beauty in the man Baba and the beauty in the woman Mera. Mera was very beautiful. Her skin was lovely. Her face was heart-shaped, and her hair had this soft wave in it and fell down her back. She had beautiful eyes and this sweet smile. She generally looked very happy. I don't remember seeing her often look disagreeable. Whether she was disagreeable with the Eastern girls, I can't say, because Baba kept the two groups practically separated. Shall I go on?
Yes, please.
Okay. Wow, that was beautiful. On 12 August, Baba was gone again to Delhi, Meherabad, and Pune, and he returned 9 days later. Shortly thereafter, seemingly to escape the heat, he separated the women yet again by taking some of them with him to Kashmir. While at Meherabad, Baba had visited the family quarters where Savak and Naglis Kotwal now stayed. Living next to them was Shagan's wife, Shanta, and their daughter. Nergis had been hoping Baba would pay a visit, and she urged Shanta to tidy up her area of the compound. Shanta had ignored her, but Baba himself remarked to Shanta, when the Lord of Love comes to your home, you must keep everything clean. Even if I don't come, you must always clean it for me. Baba allowed Nergis to comb his hair before he departed for Lahore. This is a picture of Baba in the blue bastures, placed and date unknown. Mehera holding alphabet board, covering her face with it. Katie Wright and Elizabeth ECPPA. What's ECPPA?
Probably means that Elizabeth took the picture.
Oh, okay.
And it's part of her collection. I mean, I'm guessing, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Baba, what a picture of Mehera and Baba. Wow.
Yeah, that was cool that Margaret asserted that Mehera was, you could say, a real woman without the Western habit of having careers.
And yeah, feminine, totally feminine. Yeah, not having the masculine side strong. Beautiful.
So you met Mehera, right? Was she a very tiny woman? Because she's even smaller than Baba in this picture. You can see.
When I met her, when I met her, because she was such a huge soul, I didn't think she was small at all. And here you can see, because Baba is small and Mehera is smaller than him, but she seemed big. I would never think that she was small, never.
Yeah, and you don't often see Baba with the dot on his forehead. What did they call it? The kumkum.
Yeah.
Well, here they call it a kumkum. Yeah. Sweet picture of Mani and a parrot.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Rosa.
One thing I found very interesting, it was mentioned how Margaret had no competition with Mehera. She completely understood Mehera's perfection for that role and all this. And so she said to Baba, I want to be your fiance. Can I be your fiance? I don't want to be your beloved. I want to be your fiance. Because she had this tremendous, although respect for Baba, she was so funny and herself and at ease. And I love that. She wasn't competing. She said, I don't want that. I want to be your fiance for all time. Is that okay? And he agreed. And he gave her a ring that she never took off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I understand she was careful to not tell Mehera about that incident of being Baba's fiance. Yeah, interesting. Thank you so much, Mikal.
Thank you so much. It was such a beauty to do this. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome, and we are all, blessed and privileged and benefited. Yeah. Eva, are you still with us? Would you like to read next?
I'm still here. Yeah, I'll read a page or two.
Okay, so the title of chapter 66 is Shangri-La.
Shangri-La. On Thursday, 2 September 1943, Meher Baba took 3 of the Eastern women, Mehera, Mani, and Meheru, to Srinagar, Kashmir, in the Himalayas. Since Baba planned to be away much of the time on must trips with the men, he took one Westerner, Rano, who was always very practical, to look after them. Mehera said that she would have preferred Margaret's company, but Margaret was not taken as she was not as practical. Besides, both Margaret and Kitty had been to Kashmir previously with Baba in April 1933, and Rano had not. The group traveled by train to Rawalpindi from where they left in a private bus. They drove through the mountains and pine forests to Muri, and sidebar, Muri is said to be named after Mary Magdalene, who supposedly dropped her body there. Okay.
To Murray, a British hill station. Go ahead.
Oh, wait. I'm looking. It was beautiful driving up through the forest, Mehera recalled. Murray was very nice, with pretty little hotels and a large convent school. Baba's party spent the night in a small hotel with individual cottages, and they went to the drawing room for dinner. Mehera, however, was exhausted and later became nauseous and vomited. But after a good night's sleep, she felt better. They drove on to Srinagar, where they stayed in Hotel Sam across from Dal Lake. The hotel was large and comfortable, though not very posh, Mehera noted. When they arrived, Rano started to take the bags to their room, but Baba stopped her. "Put those bags down," he said. "Let the bellboys do it." At this hotel, it was considered bad manners for the guests to carry their own luggage, Rano said. Sometimes Baba wanted things done quickly and sometimes not. In the hotel, nice food was cooked for us, Mehera remembered. There was a lovely terrace upstairs that overlooked Dal Lake. It was a pretty scene, and Baba ate there with us at a big dining table. Butlers and bearers were brought the food on trays. Mehera had suffered with malaria in Nasik 13 years.
Maybe read the sidebar.
Oh, okay.
Because it's, yeah.
Dal Lake is one of the most beautiful lakes in India. It is surrounded by mountains on 3 sides, with a large number of gardens and orchids along its shores. Brightly colored houseboats are moored on the lake, serving as private floating hotels. Mehera had suffered with malaria in Nasik 13 years before, and in Srinagar, Mani too came down with a case of it. Mani became feverish, but later the fever would subside. Kaka was given orders to tell them, the hotel staff, to send 1 plate less with just soup for Mani. She was inside in bed while we enjoyed the nice food outside on the terrace. She had soup and toast and rested. The next day, Mani was okay and the fever had gone, and she said she was feeling hungry. When the food was ordered, Kaka told them to send more. No soup that day. The kitchen staff was wondering what was going on. Kakabaria was a very fine, conscientious person. He would go to the kitchen to personally ensure that everything was well done. He knew what Baba would like. Mani ate heartily, but the next day again, she had fever. Again, 1 plate less. One day soup, one day good food. After 3 or 4 days, she recovered. From 6 September, Baba began going out in the evening to contact local mosques. When he wasn't occupied in mosque work, he spent time with Mehera and the others. Now that they were in Kashmir, Baba said, they must go sightseeing. So they went for a ride in a small shikara, gondola-like boat on Dal Lake. Baba also took them to see the houseboat of the governor, which had an elaborate deck with a garden on it. But for Mehera, the highlight of their trip was the day spent at Gulmarg, a scenic spot 8,500 feet high known for its magnificent view of the entire Kashmir Valley and its flowered meadows. We were so excited to be going to Gulmarg, but we didn't know how we were to reach there. Baba had prepared a nice surprise: horseback riding. They left by car and drove some distance outside of town through a pine forest with the soaring Himalayas in the background. After about 28 miles, the car came to a large paddock with many horses. Small mountain horses, not grand riding ones. A few tall ones were there also. Baba told us to get down from the car and see which horse we wanted to ride. we had to go by horseback on the path, as cars were not allowed there. The horses were waiting to be hired for the ascent, Mehera added. To reach Gulmarg, one either walked or went on horseback. Mehera, of course, chose the best horse, a tall, strong one. The horses had regular saddles, not side saddles, which was fortunate as the women always rode astride. The 4 women each mounted a horse, and off they went. At the beginning, the bridle path was broad enough for the 4 women's horses to walk abreast, and Baba told them to go on ahead. After a little while, said Mehera, Mani told me, Mehera, you must turn around. Baba is on horseback. Baba had chosen the shortest horse, and his legs were barely above the ground. Shanji, too, was riding a horse, while Kaka and the grooms walked alongside Baba. I couldn't help myself, said Mehera. Never mind that the Mandali are there, so I turned around. Mehera knew that she had turned around all the time to look at Baba. He would not have liked it, but she felt it was okay this once, and Baba, too, never referred to it. They enjoyed a long, pleasant ride up the tidy dirt path. The air was crisp and cold with no breeze. The sun shone brightly in an azure sky. Up the mountain they rode, then down again, then up again. Whilst climbing, Meru recalled, at times the path was broad enough for the horses to go 2 or 3 abreast, but they had to feel their way up because of stones and the uneven paths. And new reader.
Rolf Jackson, can you read or are you busy driving? Unmute and if you're available. Well, Mikal, since you're here, I might as well take advantage. Can I take advantage of you and ask you to read some more? Or do you have to go? Must be about 10:30 in Israel.
Advantage not, but to ask me to read more, I would like, yes. Thank you. Thank you. But you sure you don't want to read?
Oh, yeah, I'll read after you finish.
Okay, so where are we? Finally, they came?
Yes.
Okay, so finally they came to an open space in a green valley where there was a European golf club with separate cottages and gardens with hedges. A clubhouse with a library could also be seen. It was very pretty, Mehera continued. We could see a golf course and Westerners playing on it. There's a sighting for it. This golf course in Kashmir is the highest golf course in the world. Wow. So at the top where it was flatter and the ground was smooth, the women trotted their horses. The grooms ran next to them as they trotted, but after a ways, they told the grooms not to hold the horses as they knew how to ride. So the grooms moved away. We couldn't gallop the horses. Most of the time, we walked them. They came to a plateau where they got down and walked the horses over some rubble and rocks on the path. As the groom led the way, one or two other ponies were grazing on the verdant open ground. Baba loved it, and he walked back and forth, pointing out to Mera the perpetual snow on top of the Himalayas. From here, you can look all around, he said. How beautiful it looks. See, Mera, isn't it lovely? They relaxed on the green grass and picnicked on sandwiches and snacks that a coolie had brought up the mountain in a basket on his head. On the edge of the plateau, other mountains began. Far away, they could see men with thick padding on their backs, pulling huge slabs of ice wrapped in sackcloth down the mountains. The ice was sold in the nearby town, which, though lovely, had no electricity. After lunch, they walked around a bit, looked at the library where many people were gathered, and then remounted their horses, which had been resting, grazing on the green grass. A horse facing home always gets excited, Mera noted, so one must not urge him to run on the ride back. Being an experienced horsewoman, however, Mera at one point wanted her horse to gallop. As they approached an ascent, she let her horse go. I knew he couldn't get out of control going up the hill since the horse was headed towards home. It was glad to gallop. Oh, I had fun. By the time the horse reached the top of the hill, it got tired, as Mera knew it would. She now saw that she had far outdistanced the others, who were shouting, "Allez, Mera, stop! Wait for us to catch up." When the other women got to the top of the hill, they looked around to see whether Baba was coming. They had left him far behind, but he did not mind. They rode on to the paddock, where they waited by the car for Baba to arrive on his small horse. When he got down, he asked Mera, "Do you like it?" "Yes, Baba, it was lovely. I had a nice ride." "Good, I am happy. Now all get in the car." And back to the hotel they went, their muscles aching since they were not used to riding. Mera recalled that Baba walked for all or part of the descent. Oh, Baba. Another day, Baba took them into the city of Srinagar. Baba and Mera rode in one tonga, with Rano sitting up front with the driver. Mani and Meru rode in a second tonga. They started out together, but Baba's horse was more alert and quicker, and the second tonga lagged behind. Baba gestured with a sharp frown. "Why are you so far behind? Come on, there's no time." Mani was worried that they were displeasing Baba, but Meru had a brainwave. Meru, like the others, could not address the driver directly because he was a man, but she said loudly, "What kind of horse is this? The other tonga is far ahead of us. We could have gotten there sooner if we had walked." Suddenly the driver spurred the horse. It took off with a jerk, picked up speed, and pretty soon it was galloping at full tilt. "We were hanging on for dear life," Mani remembered. "We got nearer to Baba and the horse started loudly passing gas." Mera was convulsed with laughter. Then we passed Baba's tonga. Baba's frown was even greater and sharper to see the tonga gallop ahead and Mera laughing. "What's this?" Baba gestured. "You're passing my tonga?" It's the horse. It's the horse, we tried to say. It won't stop." Baba wasn't looking at all pleased, and we were trying not to laugh. That evening, as they were walking down the street, Baba was ahead with Shanji when he suddenly turned around and said that they should do some shopping. Mani recalled that they asked, "Shopping?" It was the furthest thing from their mind. But that was the way it was with Baba. Suddenly, we have to adjust our minds. Mani explained, "Not when you want it, only when he wants it." We looked at each other and Mera said, "Well, we'll get some photo frames for Baba's pictures, as they had such beautiful carved wooden items." Baba was striding ahead, so many passing him without seeing him. That always fascinated me, Mani continued. Here's Baba, walking unknown among these people who are being blessed by his presence, not conscious of it. They did not know any shops, but suddenly Baba stopped and pointed to a huge signboard over one shop that read, Suffering Moses. Baba smiled. Mani said, that tickled Baba. He gave such a chuckle, like a burst of a bud opening. He snapped his fingers. This is where we'll go in. We went in. We bought beautiful carved walnut photo frames. I think we got a box for Baba's kerchiefs also. Mera also bought a small leather purse and a pair of shoes. They left Srinagar on 9th to return to Lahore, and Baba almost immediately left again on 11th September to contact an advance master who lived high up in the mountains. The saint pointed at Baba and told the crowd of followers around him, he is my elder brother. He adjusts and protects the whole world. You want me to go on or you're taking over?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Baba was gone for most of the next 2 months. Not only must hunting, he said that he wanted to go to Kolkata and to Lucknow, where there was widespread famine. A cyclone and 3 tidal waves had devastated western Bengal, ruining crops and causing plant and human diseases. By mid-1943, hundreds of thousands of Bengalis were starving. The final toll ran to at least 2 million. Wow. 3 times the total number of Anglo-American military deaths in World War II. And it says on the side note, Roosevelt, page 381. So this was taken from this book with the cyclone and the 2 million people. Wow. The price of foodstuffs had skyrocketed during the war, and now with the devastation from natural diseases, not even middle-class people could afford to eat. Wow. Baba decided, it reminds me of Asheville. Baba decided to feed the people himself. This work of mine is quite distinct from that done by others. For spiritual reasons, I want to serve food myself. There are hundreds of institutions engaged in the work of handing out free food, but I do not wish to work for them. The meaning of my feeding people is quite different. It is not to fill the stomachs of the hungry, but to feed humanity's spirituality. This is taken from Lord Meher Online, page 2379. This is amazing. Moreover, this was not to be a feeding of the poor program, but a means of helping middle-class people who had been made destitute by circumstances beyond their control, yet who would not beg. Additionally, Baba's identity was to be kept secret. He was known only as a charitable Irani from Bombay. The program took place at both locations, and more mass work followed. Since it was now becoming cold in Lahore, Baba decided to return to Meherabad with the women. A few days before their departure, there was a big bit of drama involving Mitu, the parrot. Mitu was in her cage on the veranda of the bungalow, looking at the garden and getting some sun. Somehow, she got out of the cage and flew down into the garden. The women were busy folding clothes and packing their heads in their trunks. Suddenly, they heard Mitu scream. Something's happened to Mitu, Mera exclaimed. Money, come on. They ran as fast as they could into the garden, where they saw a mongoose dragging Mitu by her top feathers towards the hedge. Mitu screeched again and Mani shouted, Baba, Baba. Meru leapt over the parapet wall to rescue the bird, and seeing all of them advancing, the mongoose left Mitu go. They picked up the parrot and took her inside the house, but she was in a state of shock. Mitu had been terrified. Now her eyes were glazed and white, and she was shivering. They gave her a bit of brandy, but put her on their bed and tried to keep her warm before putting her back in the cage and coaxing her to eat with tasty treats. She was not happy at all, Mehera noted, sort of scared for a few days. Then she got over it. She was her old self again, but her top feathers, which were standing up, never did go back down. Mitu proved to be an intrepid parrot. What's intrepid?
It means that she was capable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Mitu proved to be an intrepid parrot. In Meherabad, the women put her cage under the tin shed, even though there was a cat living nearby who had kittens in the storeroom. Mitu wasn't at all afraid of it, Mehera continued. She was so bold. Usually parrots are not brave. If they become afraid, such as having a shock from cats, they don't survive. I saw this happen twice as my grandmother had parrots. Mitu was like one of us, Mani observed affectionately. She was the ugliest parrot we ever had, but she had such a personality. Once we had another parrot at the same time, an elegant kind. The elegant one liked having a bath. We put the bird on an enamel plate. He bathed in it like a ballet dancer. He would make his movements and Mitu would watch him, looking envious. What has he got that I haven't got? Somehow, with her bulky form, she would waddle down and sit on the edge of the plate after the little elegant one had gone. She didn't like a bath and she didn't want to go in the water. So she would put her big beak into the water, then move to the other side and put her beak in there and pretend she had a bath. She was like a bird mandali of Baba's. I could write a whole book on her. When Mitu would lean over to take a chapati from Baba's lips, she was trembling with ecstasy. She was so gentle with Baba. It was quite different from the way she would take a chapati from us. It was something to watch. Once Kitty was told to send our food to our room, Mehera and I would eat there. Mitu was sitting on top of her cage. She saw it was food. She climbed down from a cage, walked over to our tray, looked where the pot of rice was, and put her beak in it, tapped on it, tap, 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 as if to say, I want this. She was very impatient, going around and around, even though it was still hot. We gave her some rice and dal. She liked to eat from our mouths. We usually mixed the rice and dal together and had hand-fed her, but she also liked to eat what we were chewing. She would climb on us and take it. She ate every type of food when she first came. Mitu also liked...
Yeah, I just wanted to interject that birds do that, don't they? They feed each other from their mouths.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right. Oh, you have birds, don't you?
I don't, but I have observed that. Yeah.
Okay. The Mitu also liked to have a walk in the evening. She loved human company. When Margaret took a walk, she came and asked me whether I wanted to give Mitu a walk, and I gave the bird to her. Once a sensational thing happened in the ashram. Delia had sent some dresses from England, and Baba allowed Margaret to have one. Kitty got one too. Margaret's was a beautiful silk crepe with 3 or 4 blending colors of stripes. We all appreciated her new outfit. Margaret didn't care how a dress fit. No matter what she wore, she carried herself like a duchess. She could put on a sack and still look the same. So that day, I took Mitu on my finger. She climbed on Margaret's shoulders, and they went out for a walk. After quite some time, Margaret came back and said, Mitu was very sweet. She didn't bother me or give me any trouble. She was so quiet. I looked at Margaret and I couldn't believe what I saw. The reason Mitu had been so quiet was that she was being busy eating a big hole in Margaret's new dress. I didn't make a sound. It was an inward gasp. Oh, the women Mandalay later nicknamed Margaret the Duchess and referred to her in correspondence by that name. So you want me to go on? You don't want to read?
Yes, I'll go after you finish this page because
Okay.
it's kind of connected.
Okay. There was a big hole as big as a tomato with very rough edges. Getting new clothes was something that hadn't happened before for a number of years and probably wouldn't happen again for a number of years. I couldn't believe this. This was a tragedy. Meanwhile, I was thinking how to repair it. Should I ask Margaret for the dress? It has a big hem. I could take part of the hem out, match it up evenly and perfectly so no one will know. I said, Margaret, just feel your shoulder. I'll fix it up perfectly. But Margaret didn't care. She said it didn't matter. She would fix it. Margaret's ways of doing that was putting it up here and there and tying it up like a bundle. Never again did I give Mitu to her when she was wearing that dress. Mitu had never done this with the old dresses. It shows how much she appreciated it. Mitu traveled with us to several places. She was quite a nuisance too. We would let her loose. She was hardly ever in a cage. Even if we put her inside, she widened the bars and got out. She's always be on our bed. The house in the garden town, Lahore, had a lovely wooden banister along the stairways inside the house. Unusually for an Indian house, but Mitu nicely carved up the banister. We locked her up in the bathroom, which was beautiful too. She sat on the floor and carved the bottom of the door. Later we remembered her. Poor Mitu, we've forgotten her. When we opened the door, we saw that what she has done. So on the side one, Mehera and Meru were certain that this incident with Margaret's dress happened in Lahore in 1943, whereas Mani thought it occurred a few years later on in Way. So this is the end of the chapter, or it goes on?
Yeah, I could go on from here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jai Baba,
Okay,
Mikal.
Papa. Thank you, darling.
You're welcome. After staying in Lahore for 5 months, Baba left for Amritsar by car on 21st November. Traveling with him were Mehera, Mani, Meru, and Kitty, as well as Chanji and Baidul. The rest of the women went directly to Ahmednagar by train. In Amritsar, they visited the Golden Temple, the holiest place in India for the Sikhs. Baba and the women had passed the Golden Temple before, but this time Baba took them inside. And the sidebar says, the original copy of the Granth Sahib, the Sikhs' holy book, is kept in the Golden Temple. The temple is built with an artificial pond in front, and Mehera found it idyllic. Baba led us up the staircase where we saw the pond, she recalled. Rows of worshippers were seated inside, praying. The women, as usual, could not help thinking it ironic that God in human form was standing before these persons while they ignored him and continued praying. From Amritsar, they took a train to New Delhi, arrived on 22 November. Keki Desai met them at the station and drove them to his home, where they washed and had something to eat. Baba again took the women to the Qutub Minar, the tall structure Mansari had climbed, before boarding their train at 4 p.m. for Udaipur. Baba had often spoken of Udaipur as the Venice of the East, and they spent 3 days there. 3 days here, their first and only visit. This picturesque city is situated around 3 large artificial lakes and surrounded by mountains. They had reservations at the Shiv Niwas Palace Hotel, once a guest house for visiting dignitaries to the Maharana of Udaipur. When they arrived at the train station, a large enclosed horse carriage drawn by a pair of horses was waiting for them, courtesy of the hotel. The hotel itself is an enormous mansion, part of the Maharana's city palace, built in grand style on a hill by the shore, overlooking the lake. The view was enchanting, and they were pleased with their rooms, which were well furnished, Mehera remembered, with lovely pictures on the walls. All the rooms had nice carpets, even in the bathrooms. We were happy to be there. One guidebook describes Shiv Nawas as, quote, exceeding all other palaces in its colossal elegance. The exterior walls are stark and undecorated, but the interior makes extensive use of marble inlay work. Shiv Nawas is one of the most luxurious hotels in Udaipur, with an ambiance that takes one back in time to the era of Maharajas and their regal lifestyle. End quote. Chanji and Baidul stayed in another hotel, not nearly as fancy, and Baba went to see them briefly. When it was time for lunch, Baba led the 4 women through a lavishly decorated drawing room with a piano in one corner, over beautiful rugs to the elegant dining room, tiger skins and other trappings from bygone regal days hung on the walls, and cut crystal glassware, silver cutlery, and starched white linen tablecloths adorned every table. Waiters, resplendent in livery, scurried about carrying buckets of ice. Now, what delicious food are we going to have? They wondered. Curiously, they were alone in the vast dining room, except for an elderly British couple in the corner. The waiters brought out several small dishes with cheese, biscuits, and dried fruit, and placed them in the middle of the table. But Baba said not to fill up on them, as the main dishes were coming. Kitty told the waiter to go ahead and serve the lunch, which they were all anxiously awaiting. When it arrived, it was fish patties, cooked in millet, and a white sauce, and plain fried potatoes. No spices whatsoever. Typical, insipid English fare. Mani was so hungry that she ate a fish patty, which she knew she should not, as it was made with milk. Was Mani allergic to milk or something? Do you know,
I don't know,
Miko?
but I guess she was, or maybe it was because of her sickness that she had before, because it comes in the waves.
Ah,
They had malaria and it comes in waves. So I
oh.
don't know if I have no idea if she was.
Mm-hmm. Kitty said it was the English custom to have a light lunch and a big dinner. Baba was upset that Mani had eaten the fish, but pacified by Kitty's remark, he and the others looked forward to the evening meal. By late afternoon tea, they began to feel hungry. Mani and Meru snuck a biscuit each. Suddenly, Baba appeared at their room and looked perturbed. Why did you take the biscuit without asking me? We're going to have a feast here, and you are spoiling your dinner. They
I
felt
see,
awful.
wait, I see the side note says something about milk. Maybe it's
Oh,
explaining about money.
yes, because of her skin condition,
Okay.
Mani had orders not to eat seafood prepared with any milk product.
Oh, so fish and milk. Yeah.
Oh. At dinner, just to finish what Baba was admonishing them, don't open the food baskets again. This is such a fancy hotel. We're going to have a really nice meal here. At dinner, they were served the same fare that they had had for lunch. Baba was so disappointed and angry, he stood and left the table. Mehera followed him. Mani and Meru lingered for a moment, munching on the crackers. As they got up to leave, Meru slipped on the marble flooring by the fireplace and lost her footing. She
Yeah.
grabbed onto the tablecloth. Mani saw the crystal and plates start to slide off and shouted at Meru to let go of the tablecloth. Luckily, Meru did, but she landed on her backside. Mani and the bearers were laughing, but the stodgy English couple, again in their corner, glared at them. Meru was so mortified that she crawled on all fours behind a screen before she stood and made a hasty exit. Mani and Meru were still giggling about the incident when Mehera whispered, "Don't laugh. Baba is not in a good mood." "But we can't help it," Mani said, and described to Mehera what had happened after she left. You should have seen the expression on the faces of that couple. Baba sent Kitty to the kitchen to complain to the manager and to demand something better for dinner. The only Indian language Kitty knew was Marathi, and the workers in the kitchen spoke only Hindi and a few words of English. When Kitty did not return, Mani was sent to see what was causing the delay. Mani saw that one of the workers was helplessly looking at Kitty, not understanding a word, shaking his head and saying, "No, no, madam. Yes, madam." Mani spoke to him in Hindi and learned that all of the cooks had gone to the Maharana's palace, where some guests had come. Thus, only waiters were left at the hotel, and no food was available, not even potato patties, which Baba had suggested they order. Baba was peeved. In this big posh hotel, we're paying so much, and this is the best food they have? He said that he was hungry and asked for some macaroons. Then they finished off the biscuits and cheese from their food basket also. Mani told Baba about Meru's mishap in the dining room, and his mood improved as he pictured the scene. You must have been so hungry, Mani teased Meru. You didn't have any strength when you stood up. You were so weak from hunger. You had to grab the table to keep from fainting. The next morning, Baba asked Chanji and Baidul about their hotel, inquiring, "Is it good? How's the food? The food here is hopeless." Chanji and Baidul were all smiles as they described the tasty meal they had had the previous evening, including dansak, dal with meat, a particular favorite. Baba became annoyed that they had enjoyed themselves while he and the women had fared so poorly. He decided to vacate the palace and move himself and the women to the Mondelez Hotel.
What about the sighting?
The city palace is the largest palace in Rajasthan, but the lake palace is undoubtedly the main attraction of Udaipur. Situated on a natural foundation of 4 acres of rock in the middle of the lake, the palace arises out of the turquoise waters like an elegant fantasy in white marble. It seems to be floating on the lake and is considered one of the most beautiful palaces in the world. So Google the Lake Palace for a picture of that
So
place.
who's in the Lake Palace? Who is Baba is in the Lake Palace?
Well, let's see.
Yeah, it should say here.
There's a little bit more further down. Let's see what it
Okay.
says. He went to the women's room and announced, "We're going to leave immediately. What's the point of staying in this fancy hotel when we can't get any decent food? It is more important to have good food." So they packed and left in the hotel carriage. The men's hotel was in a congested locality with no view. The rooms were nondescript, but the food was excellent. Moreover, it had a library, and Mehera said, "We had fun taking a few books to our room and looking through them." During their stay in Udaipur, they visited different tourist spots with Baba, including the City Palace and the Lake Palace Hotel.
Mhm.
One day, they took a carriage out of the city through a forest of shady trees. When they emerged into an open space, their guide told them that the British had hunted wild boars here previously. "The guide wants to show us something else," Baba said. So they climbed up a hill via some stone steps and came onto a square terrace. Below them was an arena where they were informed that, in olden days, a tiger and a wild boar fought for the amusement of the Maharana, his royal household, and guests. The guide pointed out the doors on either side of the arena that let the animals in at ground level. Although the boar was not agile, he said, it invariably forced the tiger to retreat and always won these contests. That night, 26 November, Baba and the group left Udaipur by train and 3 days later arrived in Meherabad. Sarosh drove them in his car from Pune. So this is servant, Khorshed, Baba on Champa the donkey, Mehera and Naja. Mehera is so cute there.
Huh.
She looks like a teenager, huh?
Yeah, she is. She was. And Baba too looks beautiful.
Oh, here she is in profile.
Mm.
Oh no, that's Mani. Oh no, Happy
No, it's
Valley.
Mehera.
It
No,
is
money.
Mehera. Yeah,
No,
Mani
money,
took the
money. It
picture.
says money.
I think it means Mani took the picture.
Yeah, you're right. It's Mehera. That's her profile. Money
Yeah.
has a different profile.
Yeah, and Mani was practically a teenager too, I think, at that time.
Yeah, she was so
In
young.
37. Yeah.
Yeah. She was 1918, so 37. So can you calculate how old she was?
She was 19.
19.
Yeah, 19 in 1937. Yeah.
So Mara was 27. No,
Oh.
Mara wasn't 27. I don't remember her date.
Uh-huh. And here's Mara in a wheelbarrow
Mhm.
with a chipmunk on her shoulder. Chipmunks are darling. I just love them.
Oh yeah, they used to. Were you ever in the Samadhi?
No, but here's an excellent place to start next week on chapter 67, titled Mehrabad. That's the top of page 245.
It
I'll
was
just stop the
wonderful. Thank
recording.
you.
Oh, Jay Baba, it was wonderful. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.